Clint, and welcome to Swatch's Art Livestream number 76. We're going to be taking a look at some submitted art portfolios that were sent to us here on the group, on the group over on the Facebook group, and be answering some questions and talking about the strengths, weaknesses of the portfolio and the artwork, and try to do some paintovers to give the artists some ideas, maybe some creative choices about where they could go to improve their images. You can see examples of, it's always do it the backwards way, pointed away. My artwork over here is a couple of my educational resources there if you're looking for more of that. But we want to jump into covering some announcements first, and then we will get into the portfolio reviews. Now, if you're joining me live, then feel free to put your questions and comments in the chat, and then I will try to address it during the course of the program. So let's hit through some of the announcements. Well, I had wrote this up. Cross Online was going to be joining me. Normally I would have Anna on, but as I'm streaming a little later this week than I did last week, this is a very late time for Anna to be streaming and being a guest on the show because she's over in Germany. We hope to have her back next week when I will be streaming a little earlier. So unfortunately, there was a change or something was up with Skype. We couldn't get that to work, but Cross is in the chat, so you can say hi to him out there. Point 2, B homework for materials course. For those following the production of the materials course, I recorded a short video with a demonstration this afternoon, and I will edit that tomorrow and then work up the homework, the B homework pages for the lessons 8 through 20, and then that should essentially conclude the materials course. Finally. If you're not already part of the group, then feel free to go out to swatches.group. It will hot link you over to the Facebook group and just ask to be, joined out there. And make sure you answer the question of why you want to join. You don't have to have a long, complicated answer. We're just trying to filter out people who are basically trying to spam or they're a bot. Number 4, Art Challenge Finals review next week. So if you are part of the art challenge going on right now, remember you have one more week until you need to submit your artwork, and make sure it's in by noon next Friday. And if you enjoyed the stream, if you like the portfolio reviews, if you pick up some good art tips, or just like hanging out, then hit that like and leave a comment. Let me know what you like, and comments really let YouTube know that you are invested in what you're watching. All right, we already have some people online. Michael, hey, how's it going? The Yun77, 10 May, hi. And Igor Bondar, good to see everybody. Make sure you have your water handy. I've got mine right here. Okay, well, I'm going to pull up a little random number generator on my phone because the portfolio review is based on lottery system. It's not first come, first serve. If you want a guaranteed review, then you need to schedule a consultation. That would be at art-mentor.com. But for now, it's just lottery. But I do need to take a look. How many do we have in our queue? Okay. Let me pull that up. Generate me a number. Let's see if it's somebody that we've not done yet. We've not done them yet, so I'll pull that up. Actually, where did OBS go? Here we go. I need to switch back to here just to make sure it's an active link. And we will switch over. I totally forgot. I did not write it in here. Streaming on Twitch. I've been streaming on Twitch every morning this week, Monday through today. I've been streaming for 2 to 2.5 hours from 10 a.m. till about noon. and we're doing drawing out there. So if you want to join me for a lot more hours during the week and draw along with me, we do sort of a lesson format for about the first hour or so, where we just kind of step through some different exercises. We do some warm-ups, and yeah, join me out there at twitch.tv/swatchesart. Somebody could probably type that in there. Well, I could type it in the chat, I suppose. Let me just put it in there. Twitch.tv/swatchesart. I will also be continuing streaming next week. Same time. I will do Monday through Thursday next week. I think Fridays I'll just leave for the YouTube. And again, streaming for 2 or 3 hours, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And this is a great time to just grab your pencil, grab your pen. I've basically been doing a lot of pen drawings. I can hold up a couple of examples. I don't have them digitized yet. But let me... we do some lessons. We do things like drawing examples from a photo of a house, and then learning how to use those components, then put those components back in other ways to help us with a long-term memory so we can draw it from imagination. And that's one of the things that we're just going through, and we're learning different subjects so that we can go back and draw them without any reference. So far we've done a sort of tuk-tuk vehicle, an old book in different, opening and closed and all different kinds of things like that. And then 2 different buildings, went through a bunch of different kinds of mushrooms. So if you just want to learn how to draw some stuff and add something new to your mental library every day, then let me know. I'll say let me know. Join me over on Twitch next week. Okay, now, because I had forgot to say that, there we go. Okay. Well, some of their stuff is a little less family friendly than I can necessarily show on stream. So I'm seeing if one of their subcategories is more appropriate. Well, we can look at a couple of images, I suppose. That is one of the things. If your gallery is not safe for viewing for all audiences, if it's not basically PG, then we're not going to be able to get into it much. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Let's put this here. Bring this back. No, I just need this one. No. There we go. So this is this name here, which I don't have a clue how to pronounce, but you've got something from the really stylized up here, very graphical with this one, and Light of Other Days. Okay. It's a neat concept. I really like that concept of the double image with the, basically warm summer day version inside of the winter day. That's cool. This one, Nightfall. I like the colors. I like the suggestiveness of it, the looseness. A lot of times, looseness, people don't pull it off very well. This is a really nice version of that. usefulness of it. We've got some sort of hell, succubus. I don't know, something like that. Aaron Rodrigo, Boros again. Hey, welcome back to stream. You are on my earlier stream this morning over on Twitch. Okay, well the anatomy all looks pretty close. The forehead looks perhaps a little high. I bet it was actually lower than that. For as much as this is foreshortened, I'm thinking the forehead was probably lower. Oblivion. Cover of the book. Yeah, I was thinking that a lot of these look very book cover-like. And it becomes quite difficult to give feedback on images that are very stylized or interpretive, because I mean, I can talk some things about design, I can talk about, kind of color usage a little bit, but generally it's easier to do a review or a paint over for pieces that are geared towards being more realistic, because it's an absolute standard by which you can judge something. Published the book The Little Mermaid. Oh, it was included in Ashley Lovett's book. Okay. Yeah, I follow Ashley. I've met her before. So, yeah, she did a mermaid book a while back. I guess one of my things would be it almost has the same amount of visual noise everywhere. Yeah, these are a little harder to critique. And some of them, it doesn't feel like it was a complete idea. So it's like, this just feels like there was this, good portrait of this lady. And then it was, okay, now let's just make it into a fantasy book cover. We'll just put a castle in front of it and give a kind of random-y background, and then there you go. Yeah, that's a start, but it's not a real cohesive idea. The castle isn't lit, it's not rendered. You can barely make out anything on it. The lighting doesn't really work, and I think maybe you would get more out of it if it was more cohesive. If it doesn't really have a color scheme, and so that's where it's sort of having this odd rendering to it, where like anatomically it's really accurate, but design wise it's sort of breaking down. And a bit of that is going on in some of these other images as well. Like on this one, again, like individually, each of these guys is rendered fairly well. But as a whole, the scene doesn't really work very well, because everything is so small, everything's compartmentalized, and it would be a lot better if we could get more of the canvas used. Again, okay, it's a book cover, so you got a title up here, but we could have this guy bigger, and we could have this guy in the background, and we could have a better angle. Like if we were more from this guy's viewpoint, and we had swords coming in it towards us, and we have his face real big up here in in the foreground. We just see part of his face and kind of right there over his shoulder, so that we have these guards coming down, and then in the background between the guards is this guy. And you're looking for a lot of overlapping on these guys, rather than what we have is basically this guy in the foreground who barely covers anything else. Then the protagonist, I assume, here, but he's really small and he's really dark and it's fairly difficult to see. And then the steps are completely flat. And that's one of the other things is throughout the artwork, you're picking basically the most static view of a lot of the environment stuff. And if I could suggest improving something, it would be looking for better, basically more cinematic angles and 3D ways to view your environments. I would suggest looking at studies of composition. Do some studies on composition and see about how to get more out of your composition. Look at viewpoints, about high viewpoints, low viewpoints. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And do studies from film of good camera angles and how they frame scenes, how they frame action. There's a lot to be learned from those fields that would really transition well over to what's going on here. And again, it's like this sort of thing. I mean, you see this fairly often, which basically looks like a photo of, some portrait of this lady, and then it's, okay, but now let's make it fantasy, so let's throw some horns on it. But it's not necessarily the lighting that you really need for this. And you're not tweaking anything else in the human anatomy. Like, her eyes are exactly the same shape. She has hair just like a normal person. But, if she was really whatever this entity is, maybe she'd have a different color skin. Maybe her mouth would be a slightly different shape. Maybe her hair would be different. Maybe she wouldn't have hair. Maybe she'd have scales over part of her. And that is something that could really separate this artist from a lot of other artists that do similar things, which is kind of get all the photo information and then just tack some stuff onto it. What you're looking for is an entirely new creation that is more than the original photo being combined with this new creative direction for it. Igor throws a question out there. He says, is it too late to cash in a portfolio review from a Swatches Challenge win in 2018? I do recall that you did win one of the challenges. No, man. We could do that. Shoot me your... well, actually, I might have that on my list if you've already sent it in. Igor... Igor, yeah, I do remember that you did have a win, so we will cover yours next. Yeah, I did not recall that we'd never get to that. So yeah, a lot of these fixes they're not going to be a 5-minute paint over example. I mean, like, we could toss this one over there to Photoshop and we could kind of conceptualize some directions. All right, I've got to close this window shade behind me. Behind the computer. The sun is literally setting right into my eyes. I'll be right back. Okay, much better. I was having difficulty even seeing the screen because that light was coming right over the top of the computer. All right, cool. Again, even like on this one, the composition is really static. She's completely flat to us. The moon, planet, orb thing feels flat. There's no real sense of depth to it. And I would suggest really going out and looking for some other design inspiration. Actually, I just want to show something cool. Somebody, was it? I want to think it was actually Ashley Lovett that shared this. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I think it was her that shared these the other day. And you guys will love these. These are uber fantastic. But they came to my mind when I was looking at these other pieces. So somebody did new covers for the Harry Potter books for a different language. I'm not sure which language this is. But get a load of these covers. It's absolutely amazing. Beautiful, big shapes. Awesome with the composition and all of the major elements of the book thrown in. There's the first one, all right? And you got Hogwarts coming out of the Sorting Hat. You've got Dumbledore's beard that becomes the smoke coming out of the train going around Harry. You got the chocolate frogs and a cat and the baby dragon. You got the owls and the unicorns and Hagrid. And you got the stars and the floating candles from the Great Hall. This would be really good for the artist that we're looking at. If we're talking about book covers, look at some stuff like this. It's absolutely amazing. What we got to do is step up the design so that it's not just, oh, there's a portrait of this person with a castle in front. Come on, we can do better than that. We can do better than that. We can make it more engaging. We can have a more cohesive vision. Let me flip through these because everybody probably wants to see these. I would put those up. Posters. Yeah, me too. I'd put these on my wall as posters too. They're gorgeous. And it reminds you exactly what happens in the book. And yeah, I mean, look at... I'm not sure how many iterations they had to go through to come up with the composition for these things. Or how long they took to paint. I should look up who the artist is on these. But yeah, this sort of thing, these sorts of studies, to do book covers more of this way would be a really great thing for the artists that we're looking at. And it would take them to an entirely different level. Christina, I'm afraid I don't know. It didn't have it listed. I just pulled them off of the Facebook post. So you know, I would have to go look it up just like you. I don't know. Do some Google searching. Yes, very Lion Decker with the way that some of the rendering is with the lines in it. Yeah, check all that. The glass ball with the Malfoy house in it and Umbridge and Sirius. And you got the twins flying on either side. Anyway, you can go check out these guys. And each one of them, I mean, even look at this. Each one of them has a really controlled color scheme. Very blues and silvers on this one. Very lights and golds. This is just your browns and your warms, very inviting to it. And then you have kind of your rich red. Of course, it's red and gold. That's Gryffindor. That's where you would start it, right? Red and gold for the Gryffindor first book. And then it's getting a little darker. Yeah, now we have black and gold by the time you get to this one. The reds are easing off. And here we have kind of right in the middle. Now we just have the golds. Yeah, the Tri-Wizard Cup going on right there. And then, where was my other window? Here. So you kind of come back, and I'm not saying you have to have that style in order to be good. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we need to think about the cohesive vision. for something like this, if they wanted to push that up, this is one of those times that we'll probably do a little more talking about it rather than paint over, because paint over would take too long to do necessarily what we're talking about. You lost audio? No, should still be good. Okay, Cross says he still has audio. Give me OBS again. Jump over, I'll find another folder here real quick. Yeah, I need to look to see if I can find those posters. Surely they have posters of those. The artist surely has the right to print those. And okay, so this artist that we're looking at, we could look at that folder, and we could look at who else? We'll just do this. Yeah, okay, that'll work. I don't want to sit for too long like that. So Brahm, a lot of people are familiar with Brahm. He does a lot of kind of darker, almost grittier, hard fantasy sort of stuff. But one of his most well-known pieces would be like this. And so, this is a really good blend of the realism and the fantasy. And I think that the artists we're talking about could really go in this direction. I think it would actually mesh with their artistic style fairly well. And that, anatomy-wise and rendering-wise, she's quite realistic. But then obviously it's very fantastical as well. And you can also see that it's not a weird mix. That it's very graphical. The shapes, just the super clear silhouettes, the shapes of the wings, the shapes of her, the composition of these pillars down here, the composition of the background. And this is something else that they could pay attention to, which is the very calm to the more busy. So this part up here is very calm. This part is more busy. You have nice tight shapes here. And this is something else that's really cool. Smooth, simple on one side, lots of spiky shapes on the other side. Classic choice. Classic choice that this side is all full of these sharp little pointed shapes. This side is one clear, smooth shape. And that works really well. And you start looking for that, you'll see that fairly often. And this is something that they could do with their piece. So over here, no, just give me this one. Yeah. So over here, like this is, in my opinion, a bit too much. It's sort of everything has the same amount of visual noise, like I said. But yet if you calmed a certain area down, like if this area back here was a lot calmer, a lot smoother, and less textural, then her shapes and the details on her would actually stand out more because they had something to compare against. But when everything has that same amount of noise, it doesn't have anywhere calm. There is no contrast because everything is the same. And we're not talking about contrast of necessarily light against dark, but we're talking about simple versus complex, calm versus complicated or noisy. This is another one too that, given the option of doing a mermaid under the sea and having sea life around them and giving her some sort of like treasure chest or whatever to be leaning up against, we have so many options there, and the sea life and the corals, that sort of thing. the plant life down there gives you so many options of shapes that you could really do some cool compositional flows and stuff. And this one, it feels like they're choosing and going with a design before they're finished actually doing the concepting phase. I would challenge them to spend longer in the concept phase, and then that would ultimately have more payoff down the road. Because like the composition of those Potter covers we looked at, I bet more time is probably spent working out the composition on those than maybe the rendering does, or it's probably pretty close. But it pays off. Like on this, you know, if that main character was bigger, if she actually came up and overlapped that sun, it would give us more depth to it. If these guys weren't all the same the same basic size, and they were placed in between some of these spike things going up, yeah. Okay. Okay, because I want to give everybody some sort of paint over. We will grab. Well, I thought if I clicked on that one, there we go. View image. All right. We will try to do something here. Actually, let's do that way. Cool. So, if you were to address this and try to do more with it, you've got a lot of options. One of the first things is lighting wise, and kind of what are you trying to, going back to the mood, what are you trying to evoke? And with the Potter images, kind of running off of that, is essentially adventure, fun, mystery. Those are probably going to be about your top three. Adventure being the first one. You want it to be fun, adventuresome, and this little mystery magic to it. I'm not sure what this particular book was about. Fantasy, like fantasy dark. I don't know. So normally one of the first things I want to do is answer that question, because that is going to answer how I like the image. If I want, this feels like a glamour photo shoot image. But that's probably not what the book is. It's probably not about, celebrity succubuses. So this isn't really evoking any mood other than just trying to make her feel sexy. I'm going to start with a darkened layer. And we're going to see about just backlighting her instead. That is generally a good go-to option on paintovers to try to simplify things. And here we're getting a lot of lights and stuff down into areas that don't really need it. We don't really need lights down there. Now, she has a pretty good silhouette, and that's sort of what I want to be running with here for a moment and just try to get more out of that. I'm not sure what... Oh, she's got like the horns. Oh, okay. See, that's something that was not an initial read that those were horns and that they were coming back underneath her hair. Okay, because these just seemed odd. All right, that's one of those things that design-wise would need to be super clear. So let's try to clarify that. Let's try to clarify some things and establish a little more mood that is clear with what you're trying to accomplish with the scene. All right, we're going to say that nothing down there is really super important. And we're going to try to adjust her a little bit so that she feels slightly less like just a modified model photo. Yeah. And I'm at 90. Go ahead and push that here. Okay. So for this, we want to make it clear that this is horns. So I would say let's change this so that those are actually coming out of her forehead. We might need to move them over some. And then you have her hair going back. And then you don't have hair right here. You can have it coming this way. Because, I mean, the hair has to start underneath where that horn is. And we can have a shadow there instead. But it's not going to be exactly right there anymore. Okay. So we need the horns doing more of this sort of thing. And you can show like skin folding around it. I'm just trying to do it real quick here. Doing that sort of thing, and then have more visible cheek, I think, on that side, unless you want to have the hair kind of falling there. And these should really be moved out because it's hard to connect those two. So we want to move this out. Move this out. And give this a better silhouette with the it's rams, right? That have the really ridges coming along the sides there. And that would be a more interesting shape than just a kind of a point. Okay. And then these basically need to be out here. And this is a simple curve, right? So we want to give a more interesting curve than that. So we want to back it up and do something coming down. Like it can come up and then do this like curve back this way sort of thing. And that's cooler. It's getting something that's fairly simple in shape and giving it a slightly more interesting shape. And then we can continue this curve visually so that you can make that connection a little better. Or you can do things like having some bounce light, some underlight coming in here so that, oh, that's too small. You're having this sort of little edge light there. And then you have that same sort of pattern over here so that you connect those up as being essentially the same sort of thing. The same piece unit. So yeah, in this case, it's a really good example of push the concept further. Not just the rendering. We're not talking about the rendering. We're talking about the concept, the idea, the composition, the total idea of the piece. We want to make it more interesting. We want a more dynamic concept in order to drive the piece. There. Yeah. Here, again, we want those ridges, right? And they contrast against all the smooth shapes in the face. And on that, we want to do something to change up the face so it's not just completely human. I would be tempted. Oh, just regular lasso. I'd be tempted to like make the eyes just slightly wider or bigger or something. I'm gonna just copy that. Put that here. Just play around that a little bit. And then the lips, maybe she's got like really dark lips. Like dark red, right? And we can kind of give her the Maleficent cheeks. Her cheeks are way overly sort of sharp. And you can always make somebody feel a little odd by taking out the eyebrows. Make them feel a little inhuman. That's a go-to option for making somebody feel a little inhuman, unhuman, mutant, whatever, is the lack of the eyebrows. I mean, like oops, that's not what I meant to do. The eyes, I like that the dark around the eye, but it does feel very makeup. I'm thinking just go in there and hit that up and make it more like a pattern that goes across the skin there. And make a great album cover. Yeah, I can actually see that as an album cover now that you mention it. If they were smart, they actually own the rights to the image, and they didn't actually sell them to the book publisher or the author or whoever. So there. I think once we make those changes, we don't really need the wide eyes now. But you can see that sort of difference. Simple all layers, and I'm gonna just smooth some of that out. And that still seems really high to me with that angle. So I'm gonna drop this down. So you can see that sort of difference. That just looks like a model that's been modified. All right, and then you get something like that. And then from here, you're like, okay, that's super dark. Yeah, I know it is. What we want to do is add, nope, line up so that they're all in a row like this. There we go. What we want is to do like some sort of edge light behind her. We have this hot edge light going around. There's some sort of bright fire or light or something back there. Harry Potter covers were designed by illustrator Polar. Oh, well, cool. Thank you for letting me know. I will need to check that out. And we could also consider having some sort of underlight if you actually wanted to go that way, where the downward facing planes are catching some sort of bright light. So you'd have to decide what you want as far as that, but yeah. So that's sort of how you have to take it. And the same sort of approach down here. Like, one of the things to remember is that a reference photo, even of a really clear, well-lit, attractive model, is not the end point. It's the starting point. And you need to adapt it to your image direction. It is not the image direction. It is just some information to help get you to an end, to help you sell the realism of something. So let's look for more cohesive ideas in the concepting to bridge between the cover and the, just the photo sort of part of it. And make sure that you're looking at some really good design covers as far as how to get more out of your composition, how to get more from your lighting, how to really strike a mood. And I think ultimately that can just take the work to a different plateau. And yeah, so we're going to stop there on that little paint over. Hopefully they found that useful. Maybe you guys found something useful out of it. OBS. All right, I need to look up that other link. All right, where did my list go? Okay, over here. I do need to mark that one off, as we did do that one. We're going to take a look at Igor's. Okay, copy that. All right. Yeah, now that I know who did the Harry Potter covers, I'm interested to go see what else they did. Here, okay. Move that over here. Now, Igor has been around the Swatches group for quite a while, and he has joined in a number of our challenges over the last couple of years, I suppose. And you can definitely see an improvement from some of your old work, and also just I wouldn't say like a clarifying of your style, which is really nice to see. The earlier ones were, it felt like a little undecided on the style and how were you going to sort of render things, but now it feels like you're a lot more confident with stylization. Okay, some of the recent ones I haven't seen, so let's step through those. We have the tardigrade for the last Proco challenge. Okay. This looks like some odd version of a Doom villain. I don't know what the challenge stipulation was. Okay. Very clean. I buy all that. Kratos the Duck, a Howard the Duck Kratos from God of War mashup. Wow, some things which I thought would never work together. Hey, it's well done and good pose, very clear mashup of the two different things, and I appreciate that you did modify his proportions to be more like Howard the Duck. You didn't just put Howard's head on Kratos' body. You got some good expression going on. Yeah, I mean, like nothing about that really strikes me as an issue. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you hit what you were going for. Yeah. Again, kind of like what I said, like the more stylized it gets, the little harder it gets. Pumpkinhead. Somehow remember the old horror film having a slightly different version of Pumpkinhead in it. Oddfellow. I'm not sure what you're going for there as far as the clothing. He's got like a tank top with like gym shorts. So it makes him feel like maybe he's a runner, but then he's got like hiking boots on and gloves, which is more of a worker man thing. So that one right there, I might say I sort of question that because, okay, he's got a pumpkin head on him. He's called Pumpkinhead. All right, and he carries a shovel as a weapon. All right, that's every villain has a trope sort of weapon, right? And so yeah, that seems really unrelated. Okay. Odd fish. Looks like he's mesmerized by his own light. Let's see a close-up. I think the rendering on this guy is really nice. Take a look at that eyeball. This seems very much like a really nice children's book illustration. The sort of flat to you, but actually well rendered. So it feels like it has a good form to it. It feels rounded, but yet he's posed in a complete profile, which gives it a very sort of storybook, children's book feeling to it. Let's see. The arms strike me as a little odd. If they're arms, because it doesn't really continue throughout the anatomy. They don't seem really functional. I don't know that the little arm things improve it. They don't really add anything to it in any kind of narrative way. Again, it's well rendered. This kind of strikes me as odd, having that pillar like right in the middle, and then one pillar on either side. I think perhaps it would have been better if it was. Man, even if you just took it out so that he was the tallest thing in the middle, and then they kind of went down towards him, that might be better. Or if it just continued all the way across here, so like that's the only opening. Then this is all green and rock over there. Small little things on that. That's very minor. The priest. Okay. Yeah, here we've got a background that is essentially the exact same color and value as the character's cloak and his hat. And so I would be wanting to push this further. Make it obviously darker than him or obviously lighter than him. Otherwise, he just kind of just blends out, kind of blahs out into the background. The features feel... The feature shapes around those eyes are working really well. The red eyes with the light blue iris, that's really nice. You remind me of some of, actually, talking again about Ashley, remind me of some of the shapes around the eyes and the way that you've rendered those remind me of the way that she does some of her portraits. Different characters. You've got the eyes just really looking right at you, and that's really well done. They peer right into you. The gold, I feel, is... yeah. I feel like it could probably be better. It doesn't feel like it has a really good glint to it. But if you don't want it to be nice and shiny, if you do want him to look more, I don't know, aged or haggard or worn or whatever, then we probably should just tone it down quite a bit. And there is a bit of an odd rendering between, like, some of this, which just really looks like it's super detailed, and it's got like Photoshop sort of, I forgot what it's called, bevel and emboss to create the little indents, and that doesn't jive real well with the face. And on the face, I would suggest maybe doing something a little different with the nose. Like, he's got this really strong personality through the eyes, and then the wide mouth, and these really baggy droops over the cheeks. But the nose just seems pretty standard. It doesn't have a lot of character to it. I'm thinking almost like a big arched nose that's extra pointy, that's really flared out on the bottom into this kind of triangular point to it. I just think you could get a lot more character out of that nose. This one's just kind of a block. It doesn't really say much. And normally I wouldn't be like, oh, let's just completely exaggerate the nose. But this guy's not super realistic, right? You're obviously trying to get a lot of character out of him. And having some of this white hair fall past this collar would be nice. Having it break up this collar shape and kind of hanging down a little more haphazard could be good. The side lights I'm finding a little odd because you're not actually punching them up enough to be strong. That's one I would consider doing some work on for a paint over. And Igor, I know that you're watching this, so if there is a particular piece, right now this is one that I would say, okay, I would consider doing a paint over for this one. I think there's some stuff worth talking about. But if there is one, somebody else in your gallery, then we would consider looking at those as well. All right, let's look at some of the other ones. What is this one? New avatar. Oh, so is this like a self-portrait? That's really well done. I like the expression, especially like the expression. Some really nice little rendering stuff going on in here. I mean, you got your similar line decker lines going on. I like it. This is a good example, guys, of not having to be realistic, but having a lot of volume and good color in the image. So you notice that he's done the classic thing of keeping the cooler tones around the chin and just giving that idea of stubble without actually painting stubble. He's mainly done it by controlling the temperature of the skin. Got the little glow coming through here. That's nice. And just, working those volumes, working those forms to have a lot of depth to them. The hair is also particularly nice. That's something that challenges everybody. And this hair has, again, it feels like a volume. And you didn't go crazy with the little details on the hair, but you totally accept it as hair. Yeah, so well done on that one. That's a nice image. I mean, it's great as an avatar. That's the point of it. Okay, D&D Crusaders fan art. Oh, okay. I have not seen this one. Some fun, goofy avatars. All right, so you got like warriors, monks, barbarians, all of these guys. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, talking about that bright underlighting. Kind of talking about that earlier. I feel like these could probably even have a more controlled color to them, and it would actually help. Like if you weren't, you keep reaching for like a lot of different directions. So you have the bright green with the red, orange, with the white, with the yellow, with the black, and kind of okay. Let's think back to the Potter covers that it was predominantly one color. And I think that can really work for you, especially on these when you're going to have a lineup where this one is predominantly green, this one is predominantly blue, and then gold, and then violet, and then maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure what you want to go on that. He could almost be gold as well. On this one would be, red or reddish magenta sort of tone. And let those each set in their own color scheme. Right now, they're each getting fairly broad. There's an old piece called the Merc. I want to try that concept again. Curious about that one. Okay, well, make sure we'll take a look at it. Let's find that first. Merc. Now we're just going to go through every single one of them until we find one called a Merc. That's kind of cool. Is it one of these guys? This dude. Okay, let's pull him up. Well, I'll hit him over here, then we'll have him on his own. Character sword is supposed to be for training. Training sword. Okay. Again, loving the expressions. Yes, this is good. I got some attitude holding the sword. Okay, that's working. Well, what are you trying to do to this? What are you wanting to achieve with the rework? So I'll toss that in there, or what is it about it that you're trying to address? And then that'll give me more to go on. Otherwise, we're going to take a look at a couple of these. I still love your Calypso. Yeah. That's not loading for some reason. Yeah, so he did this one for Concept Art Challenge, Illustrative Challenge that we had back in 2018 to render a fictional character, Calypso, the Wanderer, and beautiful image. I particularly like that spiral design of the tattoo on her head. That's lovely. And this little guy. Oh my goodness, look at him. How good is that? The ram horn and the ram leg on the staff. I mean, come on, this is good. I think maybe curving that design, that really does make it feel like the leg is pretty flat. So I would say that, and I think the fabric probably needs some work. It also feels kind of flat. When you put those designs on it, it flattens it out that way instead of them actually bending to follow the curvature of the form. So for this guy, well, we can go ahead and pull him over here. Nope, come up here. Yeah. So, what are we doing with this guy? No, what's the idea behind him? I'm not sure what you're trying to achieve here. I think the rendering approach is a lot better on some of your newer ones. That would be one of the first things that I would say, is that this sort of has this flat, like you created a pattern and then the pattern is flat and it doesn't follow the curvature of the form at all. And that's not helping you out any. And then you've got like this really, pretty realistic metal rendering sort of refraction thing going on. But yet down here it feels like it's just, add a drop shadow. So yeah, on the newer ones, I don't think you're doing that as much. That's not what I meant to hit. I don't need that. Thank you. On the newer ones, I don't feel like you're doing that as much. So you've probably found other ways to handle that. No comment on what you're trying to do with that? Okay. It seems like he's a fairly exaggerated character. Yeah, the face alone is very exaggerated. So I would think about pushing some of the other things more that direction. What size is this? Okay. Like this, you could go even bigger here. He said, I'd like to simplify this character, give him a more recognizable silhouette. Not sure how. Okay, well, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. As far as we just want to pick out a couple of things to really be more iconic and then play down some of the other things. Like having a tall piece over here, but not having one over here would create for it a recognizable silhouette. So you could have that, and then you could have that loose hair just coming down over here. And we could probably toss this chain thing here. It's not going to help the silhouette. And then you could just have the metal piece coming up in front of him here. And again, on this one, you could probably even go a little more wild with it, right? Exaggerate it some more. And have... Okay, well, you got a lot of curvy shapes here. So you probably want to make this one a little more curved. Give it some sort of this sort of thing, or make it all a bit more angular. So this piece, we can come under, and then this sort of thing, a little better. This is a very consistent curve, but it's not real good at actually telling the form. So I would be thinking maybe having it kind of coming up like this, and then you have a ridge piece there where it sort of changes angles, and then that continues. So it's not a completely consistent curve, and it ends up kind of covering that up a little bit. And you've got a bit more of that shape. It's a little more interesting. You could have an edge thickness to it as it comes over here. And then this one, similar to that, it could be like coming here and then being taller, right? And it's doing more like this. And then we're getting more of this coming down on the edges, okay? We're going to scrap that. I don't think that's, we don't really need that. You could just have a bare shoulder, or you could have like 2 leather straps going across that shoulder just to kind of keep it thin. These aren't changing up much. like silhouette wise, just kind of thinking through it. These are all about the same size, so that's something that we can change. Instead of just having a bunch of uniform sized and basically designed ones, what you could have is like a super wide belt. That's basically that entire unit. And then it has holding it in the middle, and you get more of, let me erase it out and I can do that properly. And it sort of sticks out because it's being tightened there in the middle. And then you have this great big belt that sort of goes along the middle there. And you can simplify it that way. But then I would also have what you have already, which is you could have that smaller belt, kind of breaking that up. But we don't want to just have one uniform curve all the way down. So at some point, maybe it comes down to here, and then there's some sort of clasp or whatever. And then you could even change into a braided belt, just to break up the texture so it doesn't all have the exact same kind of texture to it. And then, this one could, I see sometimes where there's actually a loop or something going on the belts where they could attach things to these loops. So that's an option. You could have this other belt actually attached to one of those loops, and it comes down over here. And I might change that up a little bit here where they're not coming down the exact same distance on the other side. Maybe this one actually comes down and you're getting kind of the inside of that one. And then this one's a little higher. A little more asymmetrical there, so it's not the same level on either side. Okay. And we could have maybe baggier pants than that. Yeah. That would work. For these, and like the chainmail hanging in the back does not clarify his silhouette, so we could probably drop it. If you wanted to have something hanging down, you could have some more hanging straps. There could be like another belt underneath this one even. Or he could have some straps hanging down from his big belt. If you wanted just to have some little things sort of break up the smoothness of it. Throw a little weight on one side. And they could have loops or hooks or something on the bottom of them. Basically what you have there, but we're going to be doing a couple of them hanging down here. You don't actually want to put them all the same length though. That would be a bad call. You want to break them up so they're different lengths. Yep. Something on that lines. And we're getting sort of wide, a little thinner, nice and wide here, which means we probably want to get thinner down here for this. And so we're nice and wide here at the knees. Cross says, would a square swatch of color behind making him pop out more? Oh yeah, I mean you could, rendering wise, you could throw a little accent sort of square, if this is what you're talking about. Kind of back here. And you could throw a different color or white or black or something like that. And that would help him stand out. But we're also trying to do a little bit just like unifying into the design. Right now, this is all about the same. This has pretty uniform width all the way down. And we want to try to accentuate some differences here. So in the same way that we have this piece kind of coming down into the chest, we want to do the same thing here. We could have this top piece kind of coming in here, and then the same sort of top you have on that, you could do on this one as well. So it's doing, you know, trying to mimic some of the same patterns a little bit, this sort of thing. Then this, we don't need the pants as baggy there. And here we can really slim down. We're trying to use that to contrast the wideness of his upper body, try to make him feel like he's even more muscular. If you do the bands, I'm thinking that you could even let them be a little looser, where you've got enough of the looseness that they can change up the silhouette of the arm. All right, he's got more like that going on if you wanted to go that direction. Otherwise, he's got this big side piece that we're going to be giving him here to protect that side. I'm almost thinking like you give him a big gauntlet on this side to sort of even it out. And that would go all the way down, right? Then this hand, maybe it just has basically that same sort of leather glove over here. So essentially you have a bare arm on this side, then you, for the upper arm, and then you have a bare arm on this side. So it, on the lower part. And then maybe on this part, he's got this one covered on this side, and he's got like the leather bands and stuff up here. So you're offsetting it. You're making him a little more asymmetrical. Also feels like maybe the sort of guy that would have just a little emergency dagger back here, or 2 or 3. He seems like he's the sort of guy that really doesn't like to lose. Yeah. Yeah, that would help. Again, it's like, you know, you're sort of using this to balance out this sort of thing. And you're using this to balance out that. Let me, you know, I'm going to pull up something. You might be aware of it, Igor, but I don't know how many people in the dangling could be bolas and a boot knife. Yeah, that would be more functional as if you had some sort of bola, which has like the weighted kind of ball thing on the end that's wrapped with the leather cord, and then it goes up, and then there's another one. And the idea is that you throw them and they wrap around the person's leg and trips them. So you could have a couple of bolas hanging from, you know, you could have like a little hook there that they're hanging off of, and that would give you nice little movement items, free items. All right, let me look up that file real quick. It'll take a second, right? And find my way to that page. Nope. 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 Oh, I do not remember where it is. Hang on. Okay, yeah. jump back. Yeah, so this is from my ebook on character design. I don't know if you've picked it up or not, but we can talk through it for those watching that might be interested. Methodology is something you could really consider for this character. I'm just going to read it here real quick. In the earlier stages, think graphically how the character works as a set of large shapes. What size shape should come next? Should it be vertical, horizontal, or angled? Using methodology helps answer these questions by guiding decisions with a logical system. Methods create concepts with intelligent design and a related look while being visually distinct, with each using a different visual paradigm. Methods keep the eye moving by creating contrast with size, angle, and shapes used. There are more methodologies possible than those examples, but these should get you started. So you can start with one basic idea of a character, and that's sort of what we have right now is the character that you've already designed, but you can change up the variables of what kind of design principle or what sort of methodology you're going to be implementing. This one has a cross methodology, laid out with the directions being primarily vertical or horizontal. A zigzag, and that's sort of what we're talking about with yours. This is a zigzag pattern. It's creating a certain sort of visual flow throughout the character. We have the X layout, the shapes at contrasting angles and varying sizes, but they stay in the same shape family. So if you're going to be using circles, it's using circles as your primary. Now, I'm not talking about on your particular character, but in this, it's mainly an X or V shape. We don't start using circles. We're not using ovals. We're not using squares. We're using X's. But we're changing the slight angles of the X's. We're changing the sizes of the X's. But this allows it to have both a consistent and differing volume of shapes. You can just change the shape sizes, but keep them in the same sort of order. Related elements, continuing the same pattern throughout everything. Or you can contrast the shapes. A lot of really flowing sort of organic shapes contrasting against very angular shapes. Or you're trying to have a combination, varying the size, angle, and orientation to create a balance to it. Well, that's sort of what we're looking at with yours is, do you want a very, symmetrical or asymmetrical? You're trying to create a zigzag pattern down the character. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here is, if you keep it completely symmetrical, there isn't really a flow. And if you have heavy on one side, so if it's if you have an item here, then the next item should be on that side. Then the next item should be on this side. And then the next thing should be on that side. And that takes you down the character. And you also don't want to just lay everything on one side unless you're intentionally trying to make a character feel lopsided or irregular or whatever. Yeah. Any thoughts or questions on that, Igor? And this is mainly sticking with, the elements that you already have in here. This is assuming that you're not going to start giving him a magic staff and a different kind of wardrobe. I'm assuming that you're just trying to modify the basic components that you already have going on. Yeah. Other things that you could do to change up the silhouette. You can do things like, if he had elf ears, that changes it up. If he had some sort of crown, that could change it up. If you had this instead of just a big round shape there, if this had spikes on it, that would make it more distinct. I was thinking about thinning out the legs and exaggerating the shoulders. Yeah, if you want to do that, where you have the really big upper body, and then you have the little legs, and then, yeah, that's classic, right? You could go with that. And that's kind of what I'm thinking here, but we would need to scale down these knee pieces, and then you get a lot thinner and sort of smaller with the boots in order to help sell that. You don't have like the big sort of fat boots to it. It'd be a little more streamlined. And we could thin the hips up as well, and the waist. You could probably cut that in by 10 or 15, 20%, maybe even. Because again, you're exaggerating this some. Yeah. The hair is something else that you could play with more. It feels like you could get more out of it by letting some of it be blowing around some more, get more character, a bit of randomness out of that. And even on an illustration like this, which is primarily just a one character thing, implementing a few little side things like just have some leaves falling. And maybe just even inside of the frame behind him, right? You could have some leaves falling. Like autumn, right? And then have just a couple of leaves just sitting down here by his feet. And it would just give a little movement to the scene. It wouldn't really be about the character design. But if it gives him a little space and environment without necessarily doing it in full background. I've seen people do that sort of thing. Or it's giving like a barrel, just sitting a barrel next to them, and maybe he has a mug sitting there on the barrel. And that's more of just, finishing your image and selling the image a little more. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're on the right track, following some of those sorts of ideas. Play around with how far you want to make the shoulders go, what shapes. Consider trying to mimic the shapes on one side to another side instead of leaves wanted posters of him. Yeah, it could be something like that. Think of whatever extra little kind of narrative thing that you can do in order to give us more insight into the character. Maybe it's, and I've seen this too, it's kind of cool. Like all of this is what you already have. It's fairly blank. But then this inside of the frame back here is a tavern. And you see a bunch of people that have been punched out. Like there was a bar fight and everybody lost and he's the only one standing, right? And everybody's like, oh, and they got black eyes and chairs and tables are upside down, but he's grinning like, yeah, I won. So that sort of thing could play into it as well if you want to do it that way. Okay. Fits him perfectly, the character concept. I assure everyone I thought this up before I knew anything about the Witcher series. We didn't really look at the face. Is there anything? Man, I think the face is so strong on this one. He's already got a lot of character going on. I don't know how. I'm not sure of the exact expression you're going for. But when somebody smiles that big, it usually pushes up on the bottom of the eye. And you could consider exaggerating it by actually having the bottom of the eye kind of pressing up into it. And it would be pressing up into this as well. It's a slight change, but it is a change that sort of makes a difference of how you read that expression. It's that little more mischievous, right? The eyes are actually quite open right there, which is odd. It's like his eyebrows are down and his cheeks are up, but yet his eyes are wide open. I guess that's what was kind of catching me off about that. And so I want to feel like either this brow or both, his brow could be coming down, pushing into the eye area there a little more. And then you would also have that, I think it's more important to have that lower cheek pushing up into this. And you can see people who do the cartoons that they literally, I was trying to think, there was a character that has the eyes that curve up on the bottom. It's SpongeBob. SpongeBob has some of the best expressions, whoever animates that thing. So it actually curves up like that. There's this image of SpongeBob. There's like this mischievous smile where he's doing that sort of thing. Like, whatever. I can't think what SpongeBob looks like. All right. That should wrap it up here. I'm honestly getting a little tired. I thought I might run longer, but I already streamed for 2 hours today already. I know we're only at an hour and a half, but my brain is sort of wearing out. You guys got any questions? I don't think I'm really up for doing an entire other portfolio review right now. If you haven't joined me out on Twitch, you can still catch the videos. There's like 2 hours a day. There's 10, 12 hours of video out there if you want more stuff by me. And you can draw along with me. We did a lot of lessons and stuff. Anything else? Well, I'm not seeing any comments in the chat. If somebody has comments, I'll try to answer them real quick. But yeah, I can just kind of feel like my brain's already wearing out. I've been essentially working for 10 hours already today. So I'm going to just wrap it up a little early today. I thank you everyone for joining, and hopefully you found it useful. And Igor, you know this, but I'm going to remind you, when you actually rework this guy, share it on the group. Give us a little before and after, right? We want to see that. That would be really cool. So I look forward to seeing what you do with this guy. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun. And everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe. Stay home as much as you can, right? But this is a great time to actually get to know a lot of your family that you're probably not around that much. I say that, but of course I live alone. I've got housework. I've got renovations that I'm going to be doing this weekend. Got to dig into the kitchen, I think is the main goal. I've got to get a working kitchen sink going. So that is what is going to be on my plate. Justice says the methodology was awesome. Thanks for the tip. You're welcome. If you want to pick up the ebook, it's like 66 pages, chock full of that sort of stuff. And you can get it at swatchesart.com. A little self-promotion, but there you go. So, and again, I did not mention it at the beginning. I forgot to put it in the announcements. If you do want to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, you can go to art-mentor.com. I'll make sure I open up some more dates if you need to schedule things out further than next week. So, everybody have a good evening. I will catch you Monday morning on Twitch or here next Friday for the Art Challenge finals. Until then, keep drawing.